Coming up this week on the Just Lifestyle Show 893, Gary's here, and we're going to be talking through the week's news. But before we start on the build news, we've got a little smart home news to catch up on. We'll be talking about that. We're talking about Microsoft Designer Tool, sound modules, lots more. So let's get straight to Gary. Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, just
it sounds good off vision today.
Yes, the audio's coming through nice and clear now, but we had a few issues getting the picture through before. But yeah, audio's coming through okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, but I mean, my download speed is really quite high at the moment. I'm peaking at. I've just done another test. I've got 720 megabits downstream, which when I've only got a 500 meg cable, you may wonder how I've achieved that. It's because I've been experimenting with 5G, because 5G just recently went live in my area. So I've got it's on the 3 network here, and I'm using one of the 3 5G routers, but actually using a Smarty unlimited data SIM, which actually I'm really impressed with. I'm impressed. I know Smarty is actually part of the 3 service, but that is separately run and very, very economic. I mean, it's 20 quid a month for unlimited data, which is
right. Yeah, right.
And on 5G, that's pretty impressive, to be honest. Unlimited 5G, 20 quid a month. I really can't argue with that. I know there's fair use and everything on it, as with all these things, but it's impressive. I mean, as I said, we've had some problems getting the video up, and I think it's the upload speed is still problematic. And not surprisingly, because I'm actually got it sitting in the studio, which is as you know, is a garden building, and having thought about this, one of the problems with my garden building is maybe the insulation, because I've got basically aluminium foil either side of insulation box embedded in each wall, which kind of makes the whole thing a big Faraday cage. So yeah, probably only the window is actually signal getting through.
The foil will just does make it into that, literally into a Faraday cage.
So I'm kind of thinking that I might actually need an external aerial for this, and I'd like to see that it improves the transmission speed. I can certainly easily get one fitted in. So that may be my next approach, is to run up try and solve the issue. But yeah, it's interesting to try and solve. But yeah, so it's good. I mean, the other thing I've been experimenting with, and I don't know if I mentioned this on the show before, is gigahertz home networking. So this is Powerline, but not as you know it. It's one of the new standards. Hasn't actually had as much traction as recently as it did when it was first announced a couple of years ago. But Devolo quite heavily bought into this, and they've got what they call their Magic 2 range. So I've been trying that out, and actually it is working pretty well. Again, having some problems with the upload speed, but considering I'm on a separate power network, I mean, obviously going through the same consumer unit. Trying to think of the word, the technical unit, but obviously that's all through slicers and RCDs.
So that's the board in in my case, it's a thing in the garage with all the trip switches on.
Yeah.
So it's on a separate trip switch.
Yeah, it's on a circuit, and then it comes to here, and there's another circuit consumer unit, so which then does the distribution in here. So it's actually sort of separated by one, separated by another. So there's a whole load of digital stuff going on in there, the RCD stuff, which is kind of filtering things. So you kind of expect it to be a very poor signal, and it actually says it's good, and it's getting a reasonable level actually. Downstream again, it's definitely accepting video, anything I want to do that. It's only really upstream, and most people upstream doesn't really matter. People who do lots of Skype type calls and Teams type calls who need decent upstream. But yeah, it's actually surprised me how good it is. I was expecting to be sort of. My experience with Powerline is it's never anywhere near what they say it's going to be, and this is the case here. I mean, they can do almost 2 megs of 2 gigs of data speed, but it doesn't do that. I'm just going to plug in, which may actually cause some disruption on the audio, but let's see what happens, because then I can actually do a quick test and tell you what the upstream and downstream are. Just refresh that. So that's just connected. So hopefully you can still hear me.
Yeah.
I'm going to run this up. So it comes with this thing called Demo Cockpit, which gives you sort of an idea of what your connection speed is, and when I tried this actually inside the house, I was getting around 500 meg, which is actually very reasonable. Power line. I mean, in the old days, if you got 12 mega speed, you were doing well out of the power line connection.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So what it's telling me at the moment is the downstream is 177 megabits a second, and the upstream is 106. So that's actually pretty good at the moment. So you should be hearing me quite clearly, because it's switched over to that now.
Yeah, sounds good.
But it does drop down. I've seen it drop down as low as 20 on the megabits per second, and that's down to whatever's running. If you've got something like a microwave running in the house, that does have interference on the actual circuit, and other things will definitely interfere with the actual circuit. I guess if you actually put everything except for the power lines on mains filtering, then you wouldn't have any impact from other devices being turned on. That might actually speed things up. But yeah, it's just an interesting concept to trying that. I'm trying a few things at the moment. I've got point-to-point Wi-Fi and other things I'm trying out to see what the best approach is to get the circuit. The other thing I've switched over recently, because I think I've mentioned before I use Deco units quite extensively, TP-Link Deco units, quite extensively out. And as part of switching over to my new network provider, they actually supplied one of the Amazon Eero devices. And I was really surprised. This is the Pro 6E. And I was incredibly surprised how much coverage I got. Basically the one unit, whereas I'd had to have at least 3 units of the coast to cover the house. I was basically getting away with the whole house being by one Eero unit. The only exception to that was getting out of the garage. So kind of started to roll back my Deco units now, and I'll probably be putting them up for sale fairly shortly, and starting to use the Eero in place of it, because I actually quite like the Eero interface, and it integrates really well with Amazon as well. If you want to sort of you can set profiles up on it, and you can actually ask Amazon to turn off certain profiles. So you can sort of say, if you've got kids, for example, you could actually say, turn off Ian's Wi-Fi for 2 hours.
He's not done his
and it will actually do it for all devices you've actually linked to his profile. So that would stop it in broadcasting, of course, which would be quite useful. But yeah, so there's quite a lot of sort of really good integration. Now, obviously, there's the whole thing about Amazon and that. But the other thing is, the other reason which had always put me off going for the Eero devices is that there's quite a high subscription cost involved in actually running some of those services, well, like the family protection stuff and some of the other things it does. But as part of my deal with the fiber provider, I get those. They actually pay that subscription, which is actually quite a really good value for money. So if anybody's interested, I've gone through GigaClear, who are actually really impressed with on the customer support so far. So we'll see how it goes on, but it's really nice to actually go with a provider I can actually get on with, unlike my previous provider. So I've had a few issues with the connectivity, and that's a lot of that's been solved since they've taken off. So it's good to see. Yeah, so and they work through City Fibre here, which is the fibre networks. Which is, if you've got access to City Fibre, it's well worth looking into, because it is a synchronous upstream and downstream, and most of where I've got connectivity, that is the case. Obviously, it's slightly challenging at the moment with Faraday cage, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose could you look at just like putting like physical Ethernet cable in?
And that's what I do.
A bit of trunking, ducting.
That's basically that's what I do most of the time anyway. I've got strung out, but it's really having that backup plan in place in case the fibre goes down, and then we can.
Yeah, you got the 5G for that.
Option. Yeah, they've got the 5G backup for that. And what's really interesting with the Eero is that it will actually auto switch to using the 5G. So if the backup, internet backup service on it, and basically what it does is if the internet goes down for any reason, it will connect to the Wi-Fi from the 5G network and redirect traffic out that way, rather than so. I know some of these devices actually come with 5G SIMs, and this doesn't do it that way. It just does the fallover, which is quite a nice approach to it, I think.
When you get if you can get the 5G speed, it's amazing. I where I'm now, I haven't got it, but if I go into like Manchester City Centre, or I was in Liverpool, and the speed that you get just through your phone is pretty impressive. So it makes us a good resilient backup service.
Yeah, it does, and certainly the speeds I'm seeing download speeds. I mean, upload, as I say, upload at the moment is a problem, but you'd expect that because the transmitters are limited in what they can do. But obviously, what you're receiving is what's being transmitted to you, and that's going to work pretty good. But what you're sending is obviously going to be limited by what your aerial can actually send, and legally you can't have massive aerials and massive transmitters. So but you should be able to get 100 or so so upstream with the right activity. So that would be good.
Yeah. I mean, for home working, it's Teams calls, isn't it? Zoom calls. I suppose you've got a bit of file uploads and things like that, but it's about those calls, isn't it?
Well, I mean, for me, I definitely need high upload speed because of the development stuff, and I need to be able to check the code and things like that, and all that, and some of the stuff I'm uploading is quite large these days, so you need to be able to do that.
It's I mean, I know some services, I think it's BT, isn't it, which part only 3 now, don't they, I think, or is it EE or what? The BT is linked up with a mobile provider.
BT and EE are tied together.
So you can get Wi-Fi with this. I don't think it's necessarily 5G. It's maybe 4G, but you can get that package now.
Yeah.
I think as I only occasional homework, a couple of days a week, I would probably use my phone, my Surface as a hotspot. But for you running your business from home, you do need that service, that backup.
Yeah, you do. You need to have it solid, and it's not just me working at home as well now. People, other people in the house also work from home, so we need to have that solidity available to us.
And wait till the kids get older and they say, we need it. We need Netflix. We need a backup service for Netflix. Well, certainly, as I mentioned before, the only time my lads would come down in the evening would be if there's food on offer or if the Wi-Fi goes off. That's the other
thing. We've spoken about the Alexa devices and having music playing in different rooms and things like that before. Have you seen that they've improved the room-to-room service with Alexa recently? It's a lot better than it used to be.
For synchronized audio.
Yeah, for synchronized audio. Well, also, if you start playing music in one room, it used to be really tricky to actually get that music to play in another room, and basically you had to stop it in one room and start it in the next room. But now you can say the A word and they say bring my music too.
Oh, right, that's good.
And then it will do it. But the other thing is they've really, really improved the audio control in the app.
I was going to say, because that's been the weak link is you can't just play. I found it really difficult to get Spotify to work well on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's Spotify. I'm really check that actually to see if that works. But certainly with Amazon's own music service, you can really do it. But I've got some Spotify. Let me just check and see if it would actually work.
I think
it does actually look like it would take the Spotify playlist as well. So so you can basically what you can do now is you can actually, when you tap on the music, it gives you an option to actually choose where you want it to play. and you've got real sort of much better control over that now than you had previously. So you can choose it on one, you can sort of swap it from one room to another, basically anything.
Yeah.
Could,
Oh, I see.
and the
So
thing
I've
which
just
gets
clicked
me,
on play, and it's given me the list of devices in the house.
yeah, which is really nice. But
Mm.
doesn't that actually remind you of something? Have you? I mean,
Yeah.
I know you've got Sonos devices.
Yes, it's very similar to that. Yeah. And you can group. Yeah. So that's exactly how. If I went for the Sonos, I could play, and I can choose my devices on there. So I've got the kitchen, the conservatory, living room. I can just choose them, or I can group them together. And there's the little. It gives me the option of picking which one, and I'm away.
Yeah. So
it's very similar to that.
Very similar. It's almost like could Sonos have something to say about this, because it is certainly close enough to be concerning. I would like. Well, it's I mean, it's great to see, because it has been one of, as you say, one of the weak spots of the Amazon Music system, that you haven't been able to do that sort of control, fine control. But you can't. But obviously you can now, and you can move things and play things and move them around. And I love the Bing by Music here thing. That's worked really, really well for me. Especially when entertaining children, you can take them from one room to the next and just bring their music with them.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Just going to actually plug my phone in to charge. Yeah, that is actually a really good idea, because I use that multi-room audio for this with the Sonos all the time. So I found I haven't got a Sonos in here, so I've got but I've got a dot connected to a speaker, and I always found the interface a bit clunky compared to using but I think James uses that system, and he finds it. I think he's got a nice solution workaround. So I think he does it all from the Spotify app, and gets it playing from there as well, which he finds that quite, because he's got a little tiny one of those the really small dots without a speaker in them, and then he's got a nice speaker plugged into it, and I think he's quite happy with that, because it's certainly cheaper than buying a Sonos.
Of course, Sonos have actually launched some new speakers as well, which look rather good.
Oh yes, they sent me an email about those. Yeah, there's I looked at the email, but I'm not actually in the market really for another one. Although I haven't got one in here, but I'm, even though this is when I spend a lot of time, I tend not to listen to a lot of music on the Sonos speaker. I usually have my earbuds around working, so I usually listen to music through there. So I don't really use it in here, because I've got hi-fi speakers when I've got my music on, but when I'm doing my actual music recording. But yeah, I did get that link. Let's share the screen. So that's the Era 300.
Yes, yeah, they're new era speakers, as they called it.
Yeah. They look different shape than the previous ones. They're quite a bit
different shape. They support things like Dolby Atmos. So you in some places 3D sound. I mean, they're definitely with doing. USB-C, YouTube as previously. It seems to be.
Oh, I'm sorry, I think I lost you then.
So the price seems pretty.
Yeah, it's what, $449 for that one.
Yeah, and then there's the 249, which is sort of, they're.
I think we're losing your upload, Gary.
Their screen. And let me switch back off of Ethernet and back onto Wi-Fi again. So we're actually on the 5G.
Yeah.
So the obviously the shape I'm not sure to be everyone. They do seem oddly shaped. There's certainly the 300. The 100 is fairly conventional, nice sort of round speaker.
So that
Reminiscent.
100 is kind of, yeah. I know you say the Amazon device, but in terms of, it's the Play One of it's a new version of the Play One style device,
Yes,
isn't it? The small
it's
one.
it is kind of, yeah. It's kind
It
of
looks
that.
taller, I suppose.
It's like, I mean, the basic, from all accounts, they've got bigger sound, whatever that means. But there's just a couple of people I know that actually listen to them and say that there is pretty experience with them. One thing they've done is use dual angle tweeters in them, so they have tweeters which can actually give you a high stereo experience.
Yeah.
So I think that but yeah.
The lighting is handy as well, because I use that for the from a turntable. I have the turntable going into that, and that then will play that in other rooms as well, which is, so the turntable is in the living room next to the Play 5, and then when I go to the kitchen, you can still hear the music through the Play 3. There's a bit of an audio delay actually, so if you've got the speakers on a very low volume, you can hear the audio through the actual needle, and it's slightly ahead of the what comes through the Sonos. So I think they delay it to, or buffer it effectively, aren't they?
Yes.
So you get to higher volumes, it doesn't matter, but on lower ones, it's actually a little bit annoying. So it's not the best solution if you listen to your music quietly. It's better to use the built-in speaker of the record player. But yeah, it's quite a nice solution, because I've got the same. So I use Sonos for whether I'm listening to it from Spotify or from vinyl. I'm not sure vinyl aficionados would maybe turn the nose up at that, but it actually works quite well. I can put a vinyl on and go in the kitchen and listen to the vinyl. I don't know what difference it makes from listening to if I'm listening to a Genesis album, what difference it makes from being on the vinyl, or if I'd streamed it from Spotify. But when I'm in the living room, I like the vinyl aspect. But but anyway, it works. So that's good that he's got the line in, because the smaller Play models don't have line in, whereas that one, even the Era 100 has line in, and that's the cheapest one. Actually, that's not a bad price. I mean, that in my office over in the corner there would look very nice. Would that stop it?
Yeah, it's supposed to be very good. From what I mean, I do know a couple of people are reviewing them at the moment, and the feedback has been extremely good. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Yeah, they are quite nice devices. Now onto the insider stuff. We talked builds last week and Canary and the DevRing changes, but we actually had the first builds on the Canary channel last week. I don't know if you've seen these builds yet.
I have actually got one device which I've set up on Connect to see if I can fit in. So I have had one of the builds come through for that. I've not played. I've been off edgy. I've not been particularly the last few days. So I've not had a chance to play with it.
Right. So the I can show these on the screen as well. So we had two builds last week for the dev channel, the new dev channel 23403, and for the Canary channel, which was the dev channel 25314. And as we said last week, if you were on the dev channel, you automatically got moved to the Canary. There's no option, otherwise you'd have orphan devices, because the new build dev channel has got the lower build than you had on the old dev channel, which is why you need to then jump to that Canary. So but interestingly, the builds were actually all had the same features, so they parallel released those. So there were some things like access keys for File Explorer, which I didn't get on any of my builds actually. So that's with the accessibility key shortcut when you brought up the File Explorer right-click menu. There was file recommendations in Outlook, in File Explorer. I didn't get that feature either. You do need to have an Active Directory account linked to it, an Azure Active Directory, but I have, and I didn't get that. And something I was going to ask you if you know what is LSA protection enablement on upgrade, local security authority protection.
Yes.
So what's that?
It's basically what it says it is. So this is something which is built in to your chipsets, and basically is a level of encryption to stop things happening. I'll see if I can actually dig out the article, because there's a really good article explaining forward. Far better than I probably could, and we can get in the show notes. But yeah, it's the latest incarnation of Microsoft's attempt to basically allow you to lock down everything on your PC and not allow anybody to actually change anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's quite useful, because it means you can't do memory dumps or anything like that. I'm trying to remember if it uses the option. I know it's a service which is part of Windows these days, but it basically handles the log process. So invokes LA, and then you can get too technical, I think, for some of our audience, but we'll do it anyway. User credentials, that goes into the security accounts manager. You might have heard of SAM in the past. I think we've mentioned SAM in the past. The user credentials are compared with the account information in the SAM database, and that says then, are you authorized to access the system? And if you are, then you can get into the system. You get a login session. You get a security identifier. That's all good stuff. And then there's access tokens granted to allow access to stuff. And basically, this is extending that, so it actually protects. You can't do memory dumps unless you're logged in. You're basically going to have that authentication, be a proper authenticated user to be able to do some of this stuff, which previously you could possibly do being a system user or being some other way of externally accessing. So it's going to actually help a lot with hacker protection.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to go see, and that's on both the builds as well.
Yeah.
The other change with the dev build was it also got the copy to the clipboard when you get two-factor authentication email type things, which has been in the dev channel for some while, but of course that's now a Canary channel feature, and now it's back in. And glanceable VPN status is back as well. Search box has been updated. All these were features that were in the Canary channel, and they've moved them to the dev channel. Confusing because there was a dev channel, but they've moved them down a grade. So they were features in the 2.5 range, and they're now around the 2.3 range. Anyway, so those are. I did a video with those, with both builds. I'll continue to do the dev builds, and if there's something interesting in a Canary build that Microsoft have detailed, then I can do the video on that. But they say they're not always going to do blog posts for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, videos available for both of those. Also, I can still hear myself, which is a bit strange. Well, also we did get a cumulative update. I think it's the third Wednesday or whatever it is now, but we got a cumulative update today for Windows 11 22H2, which has some extra security updates for the DCOM model and fixes some issues with joining Active Directory. So you get everything that was in the feature update last month, and then you get those two security fixes as well. So that's out today. Now another Microsoft thing I spotted this week as well. Build is got a date. Let's see if I can bring that up. So Build was, for the last few years, it's been online only, hasn't it? But I think it's actually coming back as a in-person event.
Hybrid event, I believe, sort of an in-person stroke. So limited attendance. But again, I actually am glad to see it's available online. I think that's going to be good.
So it's 23rd, 24th of May.
Yeah.
For the global event, and there's an in-person event as well, 23rd to 25th of May. For the last few years, we've not had a huge amount of sort of Windows news or Windows Insider type news there. It has been about developers, but that's the whole point of it. It got a bit, I think, overtaken by the OS, but I think the last few years it's back to being developer event.
It'll be interesting to see what's actually in build this year and who will be presenting, because a lot of people who previously presented a build have left Microsoft recently, and there's been quite a lot of people, quite senior people, leaving.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, and it'll be great if we get a Windows 12 announcement. Although not great because I'm on holiday that week, so I won't be blogging about it.
I suspect they'll have a separate announcement for if they do a Windows 12. Although they'll probably tell developers at that event that things are coming.
Yeah, you can cut Windows Next, or the next update to Windows or whatever they would do. Yeah. I think they'll consult me first to make sure I'm not on holiday. I think that before they announce anything. If they ever do, I'm saying like I know, I don't. That's just to get pure guesswork. But that's what the Canary is for. Yeah, so I quite think these hybrid events are quite good because, as we said before, it gives people a chance to attend that can't afford to travel, or can't afford or not able to travel.
Yeah, I like the fact they're hybrid. I mean, it does allow for, and also because they actually record every session, they don't do on the live events necessarily. You can catch up at your own pace, which is good.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. Right. So finally, so I have been last few weeks I've been digging through some of my old equipment and doing some videos on it. So this week, or last week, it was the turn of my Yamaha EMT10 sound expander, which is up behind me over there. And so I did a little video of that this week. So it's not quite as retro as my 1978 Gen SX1000, but I got it in the late 80s, and it was like a designed as a piano expander for maybe home organists. Yeah. The reason I got it at the time because I think I had my Roland D20, which piano sound was okay, but not very realistic. I might even have not quite had that then. I might have just had the DX100, which it's got a nice electric piano, but not a proper piano. So this was I think it was about 200 quid at the time, and it's got proper sample pianos in it. Actually, you can hear on the video, I did a video with it. The sounds do hold up quite well considering its age. Some of the sounds are pretty rough, like the brass sound, but the guitar's not brilliant. But the pianos are actually quite good, and there is the classic DX electric piano on there as well. So it's all MIDI and everything else. So no editing on it, but anyway, I hooked it up. I did a little video of that as well, so you can have a listen to that. My next video is going to be on the Yamaha TX7, which is a little box version of a DX7. So anybody knows that DX7 is the classic 80s keyboard, and this is just the box version of it. It was one of the first of the big popular, what eventually became rack mount units and now desktop units. That was meant to stack on top of your DX7 to give you some extra sounds. So I'm going to get a video done of that as well, maybe this week. So I might be able to look at that.
Well, I'm kind of hoping I can actually dig out some of my audio equipment fairly shortly, which has been in storage for a while, and see what's still working.
Yeah, that's the trick. See what's still working. The some of the digital stuff, like the Roland stuff, was probably okay. Some of the older stuff, if you've got any older things, then you've got to watch those capacitors. Batteries tend to go as well. If you've got your D110 that's not been plugged in for a number of years, it may well have lost its performance things, but you can always get a new one of those batteries and plug in. The good thing is now though, everything's available online, so you can get the factory patches really easily. And of course with the DX range, there's literally thousands of patches available for that. So I loaded a few in for preparation to do the video, and there's so many that I could choose from. So I've got a lot of options on that. And then I've still got a few more bits and pieces to do some videos on, but there is a music tech download section on TDL now. So as I get things like that are interesting, I've been uploading those. A lot of people have been downloading actually from that, which is nice to see. So that's the one I did last week. The Genesis Fading Lights from We Can't Dance album. It's got the track has got a very nice introduction with the drum machine and a nice warm pad sound, and I recreated the sounds because the mod wave has got the wave station samples in there, which is what was used at the time. So I recreated that. So I've got two sets of sounds on there. I am going to do a collection of sounds for the mod wave. I'm building up a good selection of those, so I'm gonna put those on there. I think probably some emulations of some classic synths as well. I don't know if you noticed as well, on TDL on the banner and the font, and also I did a couple of artwork for some album covers, and that was using the Microsoft Designer. And I actually found that a really nice tool. Actually, it went to beta a couple of months ago. It's in preview at the moment, but I put my name on the waiting list, and it came through, and it's actually a really nice tool for doing things like Instagram covers, or album art covers, or I did little banners and like that. And I don't think I've got it on a window here. Yes, I have. Did I show this last week? I don't think I did I?
Can't remember.
I'll just quickly show them before we go. So go to designer.microsoft.com. I'll see if I can show a new. Yes, like I said, you put your on your waiting list. So you pick. So if I want a photo synth, retro synth wave, 80s. Okay, so we make a lot of stuff up like that to generate, and it goes off and basically comes up with the concept from what you've typed, but it's not all about the AI side of it. There we go, you can see on that. So I've created a nice poster there, so I customize that. So you can see it actually it's pretty quickly come up with something that's actually quite usable. And it's got the Copilot, which I think you're probably familiar with the Copilot I did from Visual Studio now.
Yeah.
It does these suggestions, but then of course I can change the text on this. I can bring visuals in. It's picked some visuals. I can upload my own visuals. So I can pick some of these. I can actually pick my own, put my own media on there. You can get it to come up with suggestions. So I could have 2000. I can do it for generate, and you can choose what you want. So frog in space. And it'll just start coming up with the artwork. So you've got the choice. You can use the AI part of it, or you can just use it to with your own tool. And it's got things like background removal, blurring, that kind of thing. So it's not just about the AI side of it. It's the whole. There we go. It's done. There we go. A frog in space. So I could pick that now. So I can put that on, and then you can then delay. There we go. As a frog, and I can remove the background or blur the background and do whatever you want. So you can do it with your own images. You can do it with the other one. You can pick text. There's like branding sets, where you can pick, and then you can save it, and it's all web based. Save it, download it. I'll post it direct to social media. So it's a really easy to use web tool. That I think in the past I would have used Adobe. I don't know what it's not called anymore. It was called Adobe Spark or Spark. I think it's called Adobe Designer or something like that now, which is a free service. But yeah, I actually really like this. So I think within a few minutes you've got a good starting point to come up with something. and it'll even do some animated ones, and you can really come up with some interesting stuff on there. So I did a couple of cover arts with that. I know it's synthwave is of a style, but this works with whatever you want. You choose. So if you're looking to do some artwork, quick and easy artwork for your blog or for your Instagram or for your YouTube channel, then this is a nice little tool.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
kind of cool.
So you could actually put it on your channel.
And
remind us, where is your channel?
Well, you can find my channel on YouTube. I've got an EV owner channel, so it's interesting. I mean, my title sequence, it wasn't done with AI. It was actually done with a drone, which is an interesting.
Oh yes, I saw that. So you got it kind of drone follows the car, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I basically got the pre-programmed to fly over with the drone to follow the car, and then added in some overlaid text to make it look like it was leaving behind a trail of its own of the title to the channel. So all good stuff. That
yeah, that's really good. I quite enjoyed how you done that. It's amazing that this kind of technology to get these fly over drone shots or artwork like this a while ago, a few years ago, it was very difficult to achieve those professional things, especially with the drone technology, to get the helicopter type shots for an amateur or for a semi-pro blogger. It's just really difficult, but now you can get some really good professional quality effects.
Yeah, you could, and especially with the newer follow me modes and things like that. Well, I mean, obviously there are rules and regs which you have to follow when you're doing drone stuff, but and so I mean, when I was doing that shot, there was someone else actually in line of sight of the drone controlling it, so just to make sure that there wasn't any problems.
Yeah, because you were busy driving.
I was busy driving, yes, so yeah. I wasn't going to be doing it. But I mean, in the technology there now is basically to have a completely autonomous photo shoot if you were allowed to do that, which you're not. I think that you must be in control of the drone and inline side of it. But yeah, it's really interesting what a amateur filmmaker can actually do now. Some of the cinematography, can't even say that word today, but the cinema style moves you can actually do, like pull-ins and push-outs, and I mean, the classic Jaws push-in and zoom approach. That shot is incredibly difficult to do, but you can just program it into the drone to do it for you, and then the sort of push in and zoom, which is quite an interesting effect. So you actually moving the camera in while zooming out can look incredible, and that's very difficult to time properly, but you can program that to do it. There's just loads of stuff built into it, slow pans and things you'd find very difficult. And tracking shots are probably the one which is virtually, or if you ever watch anything professionally done, you'll see very good tracking shots, and they're usually done by basic cameras on rails to go smoothly alongside the actors, and you can do those now with your drone, and it will lock solid and actually follow you, and you can speak to camera, and it would actually work for you. So yeah, so it's really impressive that you can do that. I mean, I think the only disappointing thing now is how much more restricted it's got recently to fly a drone in the UK. I think after all that sort of controversy around the airports and things, there's a lot of people, a lot of landowners have now sort of said, no, we don't want drones flying here, including a lot of the parks which used to allow it. So it's becoming a much more restricted hobby in that respect. Although there are certain categories of drone you can fly virtually anywhere, as long as you've got the landowner's permission, which is good because you didn't used to be able to do that. But yeah, it's
I haven't. My drone's not working now for a bit, so I had my old Parrot one, but I don't have a great deal of use for one, so it's not something I've sort of wanted to replace, but it would be nice. Actually, it'd be nice to have a smaller indoor one for when I'm filming some of the music stuff. But I'll stick to a tripod for now.
Which is good. Yeah, I mean, I definitely I love flying drones anyway. So I've been flying, so it's a relaxation to do it, and I like to fly mine properly anyway, rather than using the tools. But the tools are there.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, we know where you are on your YouTube channel and on Mastodon. We should be back same time, same place next week. So look out for the videos on our YouTube channel. I'm at iStixon on Twitter, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.